Hey everyone, James from TeaDB here, bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today we'll be talking about a little bit of raw pu'er, some Xiaguan recipes. I wanted to kind of bring on a few different recipes onto the show, both some Monghai as well as some Xiaguan. Not sure about other factories yet, and just sort of record some episodes, see my thoughts on my experiences with these recipes. I figured it'd be kind of a useful reference for myself or for anyone else that's really interested in those things. So when it comes to Xiaguan recipes, the standards that I usually look for are 8653. That's probably the most notable one. So I had a Iron Cake 8653 from January in 2005, which is kind of one of my standard reference materials. And is a tea that I enjoy a fair amount. I'd say I enjoy it more than most other Xiaguan recipes. I had that yesterday, just in sort of preparation for this. I've had this tea a couple times. Going to be talking about the 8673 recipe, which is one of those sort of second tier raw recipes you run into. So usually that recipe structure, the 86 stands for 1986 when the recipe was developed. So a lot of Xiaguan recipes are 86. This one as well, 8653, 8673, 8613 is another one I'll bring on at some point. But that third number, so 7 in this case, for Monghai recipes, that usually means average leaf grade. For Xiaguan, I've actually heard different things. I've heard that as well, but I've also heard that they just use it as a way to differentiate, and it actually doesn't have anything to do with leaf grade at all. So, I don't know. I did a small amount of research, couldn't find anything conclusive, so I'm not very confident in saying that it's definitely leaf grade or it's definitely something else. But that is sort of the information working with. So I had a couple steeps earlier on. This is a tea that I got from a blind sampling from TWL. I don't think they ever stocked this tea or anything like that, but at one point it was under consideration. So I had this tea much earlier in 2021, and I found it to be okay. I think my note said it's very drinkable, but a little bit boring. So let's see, maybe my opinion has changed. It's always, contextual, you're always looking at stuff very differently when you're doing these blind tastings. Okay, so I have steep number 3 here. Might do one more on camera as well. So cheers. Heavy into that dark wood sweet profile. This is not an iron cake, so I think it's probably a little more aged than the 8653 I had yesterday too. A little bit veering into those herbal notes too. It is very drinkable, very approachable. For Xiaguan compared to Monghai, I feel like for myself, a few extra things need to go right for Xiaguan in order for me to really enjoy the tea. Storage being one of them. I think in general I prefer the material from Monghai Tea Factory teas. So stuff like storage just needs to be in like a narrower range as far as enjoying. I tend to prefer more humid, so Taiwan, Guangzhou, Malaysia storage for both of those factories. Xiaguan more so than Dai. Okay, so doing steep number 4 here. Gonna keep this pretty light too. These teas do tend to get pretty rough quickly. Using about 5 grams for 75 milliliters here. So let's go. So yeah, there's still a little bit of roughness, no smoke, maybe a little bit of that sort of like mineral pine resin texture to this as well. Yeah, and it actually presents maybe even a little older than it is. Maybe not significantly, but this is 16 years old. Yeah, I'd probably put in that 15 to 20 year range easily. I do like the storage on this, so in that time it's a hit. I suspect it's probably Taiwanese storage. It's not too dank, definitely not traditionally stored or anything like that, but the tea is aged, and I really don't like it when my Xiaguan is extra green. Okay. So yeah, a bit of roughness, but it's complemented with a lot of sweetness, so I find that to be pretty acceptable. Yeah, it's got, as far as like softness goes, it's somewhat soft, I'd say, for the age. Nice aroma there. I don't know, kind of like the sweet, suckly tree thing going on that sometimes you'll get from some Xiaguan. Cheers. Yeah, not bad. It's actually starting to remind me a little bit of FT 3+1 that really has that sort of like tree sap vibe thing going on. So pushed a little bit harder. It's definitely a little bit rougher, getting hit with a little more stringency, but it's still kind of complemented with this like syrup sweetness to it. So yeah, I'd say this is decent. I don't think I'm going to be rushing to pick this up or anything. A lot of that's a product of just having a lot of tea already. I think this is probably a little bit worse than the 8653 iron cake. It's probably also cheaper, so you know, it can depend just sort of what you're after. And I've seen some people compare this tea to that tea, or just 8653 in general. And I'd say overall, it is a little bit similar. Maybe the taste is like slightly, maybe even like slightly more woody. It's hard to say. I mean, you probably have to side by side these to really parse out those differences. And the storage is obviously going to have a pretty major impact there. But I'd say like it has maybe like a little bit more of a rounded body, but a little less activity. I'd say 8653 in general I've had tends to be a little more intense and maybe a little more interesting. This might be sort of moving into that 8582 territory that I do tend to enjoy, where it's got good body and stuff, but it's really more, I don't know. I'd say this, probably the upside of this is probably just as a fairly nice daily drinker rather than being something more than that. Probably wouldn't buy this, yeah, as I said earlier, but I think it's perfectly drinkable. And I have maybe 15 grams left on my sample, so I think it's certainly worth drinking. Ooh, yeah, so so this steep definitely a little harder as far as like bite back goes, and I kind of like that. I think it's healthy for a tea of this age to sort of have that. So I'd be concerned if it didn't. Storage is good. Yeah, solid tea overall. So gonna give this a 5.8 rating. Yeah, so solid all around. Yeah, a recipe probably, worth checking out if you are really into Xiaguan and want to explore. It's a recipe you'll see mentioned now and then, and I think these teas in this 15 to 20 year range for 8673 are becoming pretty drinkable and approachable now. Probably 5 years before, so when this tea was maybe like 10 years old, I don't think I'd like it very much. So I think just the combination of age and storage and stuff, it's getting to that sort of much better spot. I also think it will probably be an even better spot in another 5 to 10 years too. So still plenty of room to age as well. Okay, well, let me know how you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what your favorite Xiaguan recipes are. The ones I kind of neglected to mention are some of the tools behind me, which are probably also, along with 8653, the most characteristic sort of Xiaguan productions there. All right, so thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.